Today I am talking to Rivka Malka, a transformation coach from Baltimore, USA. Hello, Rivka, and very welcome to our Open to Happiness podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Lovely. So let's start by finding out a little bit about you, Rivka. How was your journey in life so far?
Ah, very, very blessed. Thank you for asking. Yeah, life is an amazing experience of learning. And what's so cool is just every couple of years, you're a whole new person. So I'm glad we're meeting today. Feels like a good day, good juncture to meet.
What is your relationship with happiness? Let's move the conversation in the area of our focus, really. What has been your relationship with happiness? Have you always been happy? And how are you experiencing life these days?
Such juicy questions. So funny enough, I was a moody kid, you know, just moody, just sensitive, oversensitive, complex, the type of kid that just got into trouble and just expressed a lot in my diaries. And it's like a weird kind of contrast because inside was this storm for so long, but outside I was very bubbly and happy. And both were absolutely true. One wasn't a cover. I just didn't yet have the tools to deal with what was inside. So my old happiness was basically that I would kind of like work with the storm inside and create adventures. Like when I was a kid, that involved a lot of rule breaking. And then as an adult, it involved a lot of just like late nights painting the house, going a little crazy, packing all the kids in the car and driving 6 hours to some kind of adventure just to kind of like to be in my happy state. I call this state of like ultimate happiness delight. Like if you can touch delight where you're just, it's beyond happiness. It's like your life is just so good. So I love that. So that's where I was for a while, was just like creating crazy delight. Then I went through a series of transformations slash traumas, and my happiness began to change. Well, I was unhappy, but I found new pockets in my heart that I never had gotten any attention. All that old moodiness, that old complexity, it really needed to come to the surface, and all those pains needed to be dealt with. So now I have a new happiness, and it really is. It's like a pretty much a minute by minute choice for gratitude and God connection, and checking my thoughts. A lot of checking my thoughts, and one of my best secret tools is dance. I do a lot of dancing. So that's like a super happiness medicine.
Fantastic. It's interesting that you talk about your experience through the perspective of the distractions of the outside world, which we all enjoy to a certain level. And I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you're turning into finding the inner peace that you need. I would imagine this is what you call happiness, being in the moment, being in the now, being present to the experience that is the experience that is arising within you. And that's absolutely lovely. Um, so you mentioned trauma. Am I allowed to ask you, maybe explain a little bit, what is trauma really? Because I would imagine this is how you got interested in healing afterwards. So what is trauma, and share as much as you feel comfortable with us all here.
Sure. Well, first of all, I didn't say hi to all of you here. Hi, it's great to meet you. And Nicoletta, thank you so much for having me on. This is our first time meeting, and I got to see your videos in advance, and it was just, I'm like, she's a lovely lady. We got to talk.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk about trauma. So there's this big definition of trauma, which is when something painful happens and there is no one to witness it. Kind of like if a child falls down, you pick them up, you give them a kiss, they're okay. But if they fall down and they were lying there and nobody came and they were all alone, then this little scrape on the knee becomes a traumatic memory. So that's the one piece of trauma, which is, what happened to you that there was no one to explain it to you. And then you came up with all of these sad, painful messages in your mind. I had a very early molestation incident. And that was like one of those traumas where I didn't even know to call it a trauma. I didn't even know how it was acting in my life because I never spoke about it. So it just became a terrible jumble of stories in my mind about myself, about men, about all kinds of things. And that's a trauma. That means that, like, in this beautiful wholeness of my psyche, there's a place that's a mess. That's how the trauma lands, is like there's a place that is like sorting out survival stuff. So that's one piece of trauma. And the way that I feel about it is the places where our goodness is, our innocence is taken from us. We come into this world and we come in trusting, and we come in gurgling and happy. Babies naturally smile and express. And at some point that innocence is snatched for whatever reason. Like I'll tell you a tiny mini incident. You wouldn't think it lands as trauma, but I remember an incident where first grade, and I'm not still traumatized by these things. I'm not trying to do childhood reprogramming, but just to illustrate for your audience, first grade, a teacher said, I want everyone to bring in a bag that fits the project. And I came from a big family that did a lot of kindness. Everything was in abundance and there was always people in and out. So I thought, first grade, I'll bring a bag for every kid in the class, pack it up, bring it into school, put it on the teacher's desk. And she just kind of looks at it and she's like, who brought these bags? They're never going to fit. They did fit. But it was like that like, oh, that like sweet, generous part of me just took, just like a dagger to the heart. And that becomes, layers of protection. So, you don't want to get hurt again. So in my adult life, even though I was so evolved, I still had these places where I would get into relationship trauma, meaning I came in with innocent goodness, so kind and nice and giving. Whoops, I didn't realize like it's not going to land well. I needed more self-protection. So that was like a big trauma upheaval that led to a lot of healing, was the relationship. Where my innocence was taken in a relationship or with,
So what would you say the impact is on us when we have these experiences that are quite unpleasant, and they create something in us at times when we are not developed, psychologically developed, emotionally developed, to face them, to make sense of them, to cope with them, to release them, to release the pain associated with them, or the confusion, or whatever kind of experience, really. What do you say the impact is? Because you're working as a transformation coach yourself, so obviously you're guiding people through their own journeys, and I would imagine trauma is coming often in the sessions. What is the impact on us as adults? What do we keep from that?
The deepest thing that gets injured with trauma is that we forget who we are. Sometimes I'll be working with someone and I'll just like in the middle of a session, just say like, wait a second, who are you? And they'll be like, I'm Sarah. And I'll be like, no, Sarah, who are you? And she's like, I'm Sarah, right? And then it just and I will ask her 10 times. And she starts expanding, I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a child of God, but who are you? So in the trauma, we take on like roles that we feel will protect ourselves. If I'm the good girl, then I won't get hurt. If I stop listening to authority, then I'll be safer. Whatever it is, if I act this way, like all these kinds of protections, but they're not really us, they're just reactions, so like the coming home process is a coming home to find out who you are. And, who you are is infinitely valuable, utterly delicious, beautiful in the eyes of God, a soul on this earth doing her work. In Judaism, we believe completely in the idea of mission, that our souls are sent down to this earthly world for a specific mission. And every single thing that happens in our life is part of that mission. So it's like in a really good book, there's all kinds of foreshadowing, and like the heroine lost her mother at a young age, and therefore she became, resilient and compassionate, and she became this superhero. So by us also, when we go with the who are you question, and you realize like you're a superhero, you're a woman on a mission, you're a man on a mission, God is the author of this incredible book where you are this hero, then we can start going back into those traumas, and they fit, because it's not like we're meant to come into this world and just get beat up. Every trauma creates not only that protection, which is one of our superhero tools. Somebody needs to be a good girl. Well, they gain all kinds of superhero qualities about that. They become sensitive to their environment, sensitive to what's appropriate. They develop a strong moral compass, all kinds of good things. But also we get the power pack of the injury itself. The pain turns into power, and that becomes part of our story. So when we look at the who are you as a road to healing trauma, then we're kind of saying, how does every single thing that ever happened to you make sense? Not that it doesn't hurt, but like, let's glory in who you are today, because like you're awesome.
Wow, I love the sound of your philosophy and your point of view. Our work is so similar, almost overlapping.
Really?
Um,
Tell me, I'd love to
yeah,
hear.
yes. I mean, your words are music to my ears. I just enjoy it. I feel like jumping inside
Yay.
because I feel that in a way, there's no way of healing without knowing yourself. Because if you don't know, what kind of wounds you have and their impact, what are you healing really?
Mm,
And I feel that until you get in touch with your true identity and you remove all of these layers of falsity and fakeness and personality, as we call it in psychology, all
mhm.
of these ideas about who you really are and labels that you've integrated, it's quite hard to get to the bottom of the pain and the suffering. Because I feel that in a way, the source of our healing is in the same place with the source of the suffering. So you need to take the journey back. Yeah. So it sounds so amazing. So we have these um, adverse childhood experiences or adverse experiences, let's put them this way, as we go through life, and they hurt us in ways that we're not able to heal immediately. So we learn ways of coping, as you described earlier on. We're learning all sorts of ways of coping with life and the pain that we have in our luggage.
Yeah.
And then we get to unpack everything and start working uh, with our past. How do we actually heal trauma? What's been your learning, and how do you work with your clients?
Mm, great, great questions. Um, they there is a term in kind of like in our Jewish vernacular that listening is refuah, listening is healing. So remember we said before, like your trauma is that unseen pain. So for me, like the number one hugest thing is just to hold space for another while they tell their story. I actually used to run inner child intensives with a friend, and I created them the way that I would want it. My child inside of me would have wanted to be able to have what I call all the time in the world. Like, you have as much time as you need to tell your story. I want to hear all of it. Like, you're not going to have to stop. So we would take out 4 women to like an Airbnb and work with them personally for a few days till they were like done with that chapter, like. So that's the first thing for healing, is just to have a safe place to tell your stories. And as long as that takes, no rush, no judgment, just relaxing. Like, you're okay. It's okay. You could say it all, and you're not bad, and it's okay to be mad and sad and bad and the whole thing. And you're beautiful and all that. That's, for me, that's the biggest healing over there. And then what would be next? I would say to learn some self-compassion, to be able to create an inner mother that can look towards those stories and hold herself. Yeah. And then I like to go into the arena of God, because everything that we think about ourselves, we think that God thinks about us. It's a directly parallel relationship. Sometimes people think religion is like, you know, this God thing on the side, and then here I am doing my daily grind, but it's not true. You know, you're in direct connection with God through your consciousness, through your thoughts. So if you think like, I'm no good, life is a drag, then who God is to you is this dragger making you go through life, you know. But if you can work with your thoughts to think like, I'm love, I am pure love, and I am loved, then I can connect to the one who loves me, and I can draw in that relationship. In Hebrew, we say Hashem Tzilcha, which means God is your shadow. Everything that, like, he, she, it, all of it is a direct connect to your consciousness. So here's this source of complete love, giving mercy. And how much of it do we get to experience? How much of the happiness do we get to experience? As much as we're willing to. So we try to keep on opening our consciousness, opening our heart. And I have in front of me, I have this drawer. I got my markers. I have next to me my stereo where I put on the music. I got scented candles. I've got some, what do I have over here? Some affirmations. Like, why do I have all this stuff? Because the way that life works is that this God presence is purposefully concealed from us, where we can be stuck kind of in our surface experience. And the joy is in hunting down these good vibrations. That's my markers. I'll do, like, if I need to capture something, I'll try to get it, you know, I'll try to work with my thoughts to make a picture of it. If I can make a choice to lean into the love, to lean back into connection instead of disconnection, then I get to experience it. And this is a gift from God. He could make himself reveal to us, easy pie. But then we would have no choices and we would have no relationship with him. So the happiness becomes every time I make a choice to go back in. I'm going to work this out. We're going to get back together. I'm going to connect to love. And then I'm going to feel lousy again at 12 o'clock. But it's okay. I'll feel lousy for a while. Take me a while to notice that I feel lousy. And then I'm going to try to work with it and see, do I need self-compassion? Do I need to do something awesome? And that's the journey.
Wow. So wonderful. So I'm going to feel lousy again. I'm going to feel bad again. But I know the way back into inner peace. I know the way back to myself. So lovely how you talk about listening and feeling listened, because I think part of the work we're doing is to offer a reparation, really, to offer that someone that is there for you when you felt a little bit unseen or not observed or not like you didn't matter. And that's because very often when we go through hardship, we are feeling alone, we are feeling lonely at the same time. We don't know how to communicate with others, so maybe others are not prepared to communicate with us and show us that containing that sense of support that we need. So it's absolutely amazing. And then you spoke so nicely about so many bits. I would love to really comment on each, but we need to keep focused on what we do. But I feel that in a way, when you talk about God, maybe some people are not comfortable with this idea. Well, probably they have another way of talking about their connection with something greater than what we are. Maybe the divine, maybe the source, maybe, I don't know, the energy, the universe. Whatever we say, it's the same thing. It's this idea of being a bit more than what's unfolding in front of our eyes in our physical world, and having that connection with ourselves through the divine. And the word love, I feel that describes really what's out there in the universe for us, what's furnishing our home, our real home. So amazing. So Rivka, you have a deep understanding of pain and suffering, because you have suffered yourself like any human being, and you've been through some adversity. So now you're turning that into healing for yourself and into a gift that you're giving to your clients that come to work with you. Now, how do we really move through life when we face hardship, and how do we come back to a sense of peace or happiness or joy. um, let's talk to those people that are not having a coach or a therapist like me, people that just want to learn maybe some ways of self-help, helping themselves. How do you really shift from pain back into a sense of aliveness, at least, if not pure joy and bliss?
Yeah. Great question. If you don't mind, I want to go back for a half an inch just on something you said. So I want it to be really clear for your audience. Something about maybe like Zen type of things can make us feel that inner peace is like a state of being. And I just feel like it's important to underline when it comes to happiness that the soul is like a flame, and the candle is our physical experience. The wick and the candle is our physical experience. So our experience here is like that leaping up and being drawn down. We're drawn down by this wick, and then we try to leap up. We are that fire. So the process of life and happiness and everything that we're talking about is what we just mentioned, which is I feel lousy, I feel loved, I feel loved. And that doesn't mean that you haven't achieved inner peace. It means you're doing the work of humanity. So just if anyone is sitting there in inner peace, like every second of the day, they're either dead or very, very selfish, because the way of humanity is we actually, like, there's friction when two people come up against each other. We have to work that out every minute. And yeah, okay, I just wanted to say that. And then for your question, okay, how do we get to inner peace? Great question. So we'll give a few tips and hopefully it will help some of you. Yeah.
That would be lovely. Your best learnings so far.
My best learnings. Okay. My earliest best learning when I first started doing work was be with the moment. And what that would look like was I did not have any therapeutic or coaching in my avenues in my life at all. But what I would feel was unrest. You know that feeling when you're gonna get into bed and you're just like numbing out. You want to numb out because you want to go on Netflix, you want to do something because you're just everything happened. I can't deal. Okay, I can't deal. All right. So it's either cake and cookies, Netflix, the whole thing, right? Chinese food. So in those moments, if you can, even just try this, if you can achieve this even once a week, then to instead of going out of yourself, go into yourself, you're going to have an incredible experience. And what that looked like for me, I'm sure it's different for every person. What that looked like for me at that time was to light a scented candle, to take a nice long shower, to climb back into bed, to write in a journal. And then right at that moment where I still want to numb out and go back on the phone, just don't do it. Just say a little prayer and put yourself to sleep like a little girl. And you will wake up feeling like a new person. It's such an accomplishment. And it really, like, you don't even have to quantify this. Just try those physical tactile experiences. And it's like you're nourishing yourself. If you had a little kid saying like, I'm so sad from my teacher who yelled at me in school, and you say, good, sit down and watch Sesame Street. We'll deal later. That's not taking care of that kid. You want to say, hey, what happened? Come, let's sit down. Let's have some milk and cookies. So same thing with yourself. Like, don't just shove it all away. You don't have to figure it all out, but just use your 5 senses to reconnect, and it can be awesome. That could also include asking someone for a hug, which is a great sense of touch. Yeah. The second thing that helped me a lot was the recognition that in life, everyone is my ally, not my adversary. So like I said, I had a lot of relationship issues, and where my mind would go was feeling that people are taking advantage of me, or people are that, or all kinds of people are, And when I realized that every experience is a healing opportunity for me, that is from the source of all creation. Like, the one who created me is not just going to throw me in the ring with the lions. Like, that's just not in the ring, pardon me, with the lions. That's just not happening. That's just not kind. So if there's one who created me, who is literally giving me another breath, then there's something in this situation for me. So like I said, I was a person that got triggered very often by the slightest, tiniest thing I could be offended. And just realizing every experience is a healing opportunity would make me sit down and say, okay, how is this person triggering something in me that I need to heal? Because nobody can trigger you unless there is a hook inside to hook on. So, if somebody tells me like, wow, you have a purple face, I am not at all offended because I have no part of me that believes that I have a purple face. But if someone says like, you're so cheerful, like, are you fake? And if that would hurt me, which it would back in the day, that means there's a part of me that doesn't really love myself or like myself. I got to go check that out. So realizing that every experience was a healing opportunity, it was a few years that I worked just with that phrase, and just every trigger that came my way, like digging in, okay, what is the insecurity in me that is right here that I'm going to get a chance to heal now? And the healing was to tell myself, and I would do a lot in writing, I understand how you feel. This person was an incredible messenger to bring up these feelings for you. And now you have an incredible opportunity to witness your lovability and to go with the facts, not the feelings. Look what a good person you are. Look what you did today. Look how you are, just really do a little mini healing with myself, witnessing my goodness or my lovability, and then putting it down. And, the same way as some things like need multiple surgeries. So this needs multiple surgeries, but it healed a lot because instead of feeling pushed around by people in life, I realized that I am in a divine design and I am being made whole and I'm loving it. And I did need to share these experiences. Like, it's a lot to hold by myself. So I did have a mentor at the time I would share with, but very, very helpful just to know that. In Judaism, we say you need to keep one phrase in one pocket, one phrase in another pocket. In one pocket, you keep this phrase, I am dust and ashes, humility. In the other pocket, you say, Bishvili nivra olam, the entire world was created just for me. Yeah. And like,
Wow.
when you find yourself leaning to I am dust and ashes, like I feel bad all the time, you got to grab that Bishvili nivra olam. The world was created for me. Like, she triggered me. That's for me. Like, I'm God's number one and only hero of the story. And this whole thing's happening just for me. And it's the truth. And it's very supportive to healing.
So number one, be present. In a way, I find your metaphor about the candle and the fire so lovely. It's just amazing. And you're talking about being involved with life, really. It's about being, not just being present and aware of what's going on in the world, but acting on it, feeling like you're part of it. And number two, use any experience as a learning opportunity. So you're talking about welcoming even the hardship and the pain and the suffering, and maybe surrendering to what is, stop fighting what's happening, what's unfolding, and just let it be and embrace it and ask yourself, what is this bringing into my life? What can I learn? How can I grow from this? Amazing.
And that second one points to what you were saying before. You said it so beautifully that like the pain and the healing are in the same place. So I love that. I love that you said that. Number three in the healing is, there's so many number threes. The most practical number three is the learning to receive. Again, I'm going to quote you Jewish sources, not because I'm trying to do any indoctrination, just because they're so ancient and they're so, and every word is very calculated in our script. So like when something is said, we take it very seriously. So there's this one blessing that we say a lot that says, God, you created souls and their lackings. And we say this all the time, like we are soul, like he created our souls and our lackings. That's part of our package. If we didn't have lackings, if I did not have character deficiencies or places where I just stink at or get into my moods, then there would be no room for other people to give to me. There would be no such thing as relationship. It's precisely because we're so human that we get to interact with each other. If I had total inner peace all day long, then, you'd have nothing to give to me. So learning to receive from others was my next big work. And that took a while because our protections make us feel like we're self-sufficient. And the way that I worked on that was to start noticing that I'm really not self-sufficient. Like, you know how many people in my world toil literally just in order to keep me afloat, you know? My husband, my child, my neighbor, like this is a massive infrastructure. So when I started to get a little more, after I did my The World Is Created for Me chapter, then I went into like, I am part of this world. And I'm receiving all day long from, even the grocery man and the cash register woman, and everyone is like helping me to literally exist. How could I make this an active receiving so that I can like live in love? I love to say that we need a 24-hour IV of love. We all do. So some people get it, through self-love, even destructive ways. They end up like, I shouldn't say they, me, end up eating like a mountain because we're just trying to get in some love. Or some people are up in the prayer, some people are in the kindness, and right, but 24 hours we need love. So I was trying to learn how to receive more love because I had been blocking out love from people in my life. Like I had, with every experience as healing opportunity, I finally got like, God is giving me a loving experience. And by being present to myself, I can have a loving experience, but the people in my life, that's the final thing. Like, how can you receive the love that's already there? And then of course you can even ask for it or be vulnerable and invite people in to help you heal. Like, I'll just give you a quick example. In the old days, super old days, I would just get in a bad mood and I'd be like, I got to get out of here, go up to my room or whatever, Then came a magical day. It was a day where like the sky opened for me. And it was when I felt a feeling, I was feeling that like irritability. And I simply said to my husband, I'm feeling irritable, ah, you know, which basically means, help me, help
Yeah.
me. Because I'm going to hurt myself. I need you to come in and heal me a little bit. Name the feeling and let somebody else in. And it was a game changer. So that's the third thing. I'm just going to try to say it succinctly. Actively receiving the love in your life and asking for more. Like being
Wow.
willing.
It's just fantastic, Rivka. So be present, use any opportunity for learning and growing, and then learn to receive love and ask for more. And I would imagine you're just, you're giving back as well. You're learning to give as well. When you learn to receive, then you become a giver, or the other way around. It's such beautiful. I find your presence fascinating. I love the colors. I love your scarf. I love your smile. I love your work. I love your philosophy of life. I'm so happy we got a chance to meet and talk. I imagine you're doing amazing job. You're doing an amazing work there, and you're helping people just enhance their lives and find a bit of light when they feel in the darkness and they feel lost. Where can people find out more about you? If they want to get in touch, they want to work with you, check out your programs.
Sure. First of all, thank you for that. That was a lot of love sent my way, and it's still morning here, so you got me juiced up like a nice big green juice. My website is rivkamalka.com, and I run a coaching and transformation school where I train women to guide others. So we're training in these philosophies using classic coaching techniques to help create a chain of people who can help each other. And if your participants are interested in becoming a trained transformation coach, where I am the teacher and I have some co-teachers, that's all beginning February 13th. We only open twice a year, so it's a big deal for us that we're opening February 13th. We're going to take in a new group of students, and on the site is also personal coaching and things like that.
Amazing. So rivkamalka.com. Thank you so much, Rivka. It's been amazing to chat with you. All the best.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. May you be blessed in every way.